Hi, all you lovely creative people. This is June from Woken Witch Lane Designs, and today we're going to try to make a polymer clay tree. Well, not try. We're gonna make it. We might not finish it, but we're gonna get it done because if you know me or have been seeing some of my videos in the past, I always have to redo things. But I know that Martha and Krista in the chat. Hi, ladies. Hello, hello. It's been a while. I'm hoping that when I retire, I can come on a more regular basis because a lot of times when I'm working in my craft room, it's not exactly something that I'd want to show, because I'm making mistakes right, left, and center, which is good, I guess maybe to show, but it's not fun for like a how-to video. So I'm going to I forgot how to do a lot of these. I even put my banner up, but it's not showing. I forgot how to get these settings so I can bring you down on my other camera so I can get started right away. And there we go. Okay. Now, if Christine comes in, let's see. Sorry, I know I'm making you dizzy. I apologize. Just trying to get it. Christine comes in. I did brush my teeth and I did brush my hair. I can't get this to look straight. Why not? Okay, but I didn't change. There she is. Waves at June. Hi, Martha. I didn't change out in my PJ bottoms because I want to be comfortable. Okay, so I'm going to do this a little backwards. The tree that I am making, and I'll show you the form that I made. This is out of aluminum foil. I'm going to talk about this more later, but I realized, and this tree is not going to have a lot of leaves on it, but this is also dollhouse size. So if you have a dollhouse and you want to make something that would look right with a dollhouse, this whole tree is about 16 inches. So 6 inches, when I was measuring it before, comes up to about here, and that would be the tallest a doll would be because it's 1/12 size in dollhouse sizes. So this is about 6 inches. So this is a tree that is big enough for you to use. Now, if you go online and you want to see how to make a tree, a lot of them are for the real, the HO railroad scales, or maybe a little bit bigger than that for dioramas, but they would probably be bushes in dollhouse size trees. Now, the piece I'm making a diorama, needs that tree. But then I thought that maybe some of you would want to put leaves on your tree. By the way, I just want to let both you ladies know I am not on YouTube chat at all. I turned off my YouTube um, thing because they said on StreamYard that can sometimes not make the quality of the video as good. I don't know, or it takes up some of your the Wi-Fi usage, the power, and I wanted it to be a little bit powerful today. Okay, so let me show you something that I made a while ago. And I've never put, this is not for sale. This is something that I made and my daughter fell in love with it. I call it, I think it's Whispering in the Winds or something to that effect. And this is a tree that I made. And I put polymer clay. These are all polymer clay leaves that I cut out. And I'll show you how I did that in a second. And I put all of these little LV type things. I had this guy, he's cute. Can I figure out how to show you him with his glasses on? I love him with his glasses on, that little one. I made some ravens, and this is a piece that I made for my daughter. So I've made a few trees. And I wanted this to be in the fall where most of the leaves have fallen down. So these are all polymer clay because at the time that I was making it, I didn't want to do it out of paper. I didn't have, I'll explain that. But this is all polymer clay. I cut these all out using a paper punch and stuff. But things have improved. I have learned about more products, so I can go forward and make leaves a different way. Thank you, Krista. But I'm just going to move this out of the way because if I mess it up, my daughter will kill me. But I just wanted to show you that this tree is a little bit smaller. I don't think, let me see. This could be a dollhouse size tree. It could, if you wanted to make it. So let me put this away for a second or someplace safe. And I'll be right back. Okay, so even though I didn't say I was going to make leaves, I wanted to show you an updated version because I will be making a few leaves for this diorama. So an updated version of what I think I want to do when I make the leaves. This is regular brown paper. Thank you, Martha. This is regular round package paper. Probably, when you get a package, you get scrunched up paper in it. And the first thing I did was, and I have my list of what I did so I don't forget, is I sprayed it with some alcohol and I put some of these alcohol inks. I was just using orange just to see what would happen. I moved it around with my paintbrush. And then I dabbed gel on it. Now, this is because I want to give it a little bit more stability than just the paper. Okay, I want it to be a little bit difficult to tear. So at first I used Mod Podge, and I wanted to say that right. And this is the Mod Podge over here, and it was a little shiny. If you can see that there's a little shiny, and this is the matte Mod Podge. But then I said, I don't like that. I don't like shiny on my leaves, because especially when they're old. Now, if I was making green leaves, you can have a little sheen to them because sometimes green leaves do. It also depends on the tree and the leaf. So I had recently purchased this Liquitex matte super heavy gel. The only place that I could find this was in regular, and I don't want to say heavy duty art stores. I don't think I found this in Michael's. I think it was either on Amazon or one of those places like Dick Glick Art Supplies or Autorama or something like that. Okay, it wasn't generally out, so I got the gloss one is, but not the matte. Oh, good, Martha. Excellent. Well, I'm going to talk. This is good if you're making bigger ones. If you're making smaller ones, like Luke Towan, that guy who does those wonderful dioramas, he makes beautiful small trees. Okay, so getting back to this, after I colored it with whatever inks, or I could have just left it brown, I took this and I pounced it all over just to give it, you can't even tell that there's a texture there, but it's less shiny than the Mod Podge. But I just felt that there's a little texture to it, which would add at this level or at this size just a little bit more realism. Okay. Then you take your paper punch. Now, this is the exact paper punch that I used when I was making it for Polymer Clay and with Polymer Clay. And what you would have to do if you wanted to do leaves out of Polymer Clay is you'd have to roll the clay very, very thin. Take cornstarch, because baby powder has something in it that we weren't using at the time. I don't know, but I'm using cornstarch. And you take a brush and the cornstarch and you put cornstarch all over this. And then say this was the clay. I put some cornstarch on the clay, top and bottom. And then I would just, if it's thin enough, you got to play with it because sometimes it sticks. But basically, this is a leaf punch. So, well, let's not do that. You just cut out a leaf. Okay, that's simple enough. Now I'm using oak tree leaves because I happen to like them. I have this size, I have a smaller size, and I think I have 2 to 3 bigger sizes, and then another punch that has a totally different type of oak leaf. Okay, now, hold on, I'm getting out colored pencils. You could color this if you want to add some depth to your leaf. You can color this, and I want to bring this light over a little bit more so you could see what I'm doing, I hope. You can color this any which way you want if you want to add more color to it. And I'm going to take my glasses off because my glasses are for far vision, not for little close vision, little vision. Oh, Madonna mia. Okay, and you just draw a leaf line. Of course, you should have a sharpened pencil. Here, how can you, this one, my pencil sharpener, of course, decides that today is just the day we don't want to work. And you just draw in some veins. Now, this can get very tedious, especially if you're making a lot of leaves. That's why most of my trees are either dead or in the fall. But if my pencil was working a little bit better, I can make a better line, or you can even use a magic marker if you have a fine point light brown one. And then I just like want to color in a little different, make it a little different colors. And if you're watching, like I was saying, if you're watching TV or listening to a podcast or something, and you don't have to see, you're just adding a little difference to each of your leaves so it looks more realistic. Okay, then what I would do is I would take some wire. This is a little thick. I don't know the gauge of this wire at all. Turn it upside down. I'm going to do this on here just so that I don't get super glue all over the place. Take some super glue. Sorry. See, this is what's really bad when you can't. These glasses are my old ones. I broke my new ones. Close your, I'm going to, oh. Okay, Krista, we're fine with that. Not a problem. Okay. Teresa, were you able to get on? Teresa's on the road. Were you able to come on? Hope so. Okay, you just try to get some glue, what do you call this? Super glue, and just put it on the back. Now, I would try to find wire that had, this is okay, it's a little bit darker than I would want. And to make sure that you have, see, I'm not concentrating. Hold on a second, we'll get this. This to me would be the most tedious part. I hate gluing wire onto leaves or onto ribbon, but I've done it more times than I could possibly count. And I should have taken, I have that spray that makes it go and dry permanently, but okay. Sometimes things just, and you have to wait. You just have to wait. Sort of let, now I want to make sure, and it keeps twisting on me, that my leaf is on this 100%. So I'm trying to make sure, what I'm trying is make, I knew I was going to get my hands in it, is make, there's a lot of contact. Now somehow this just got too wet between the leaf, and this is what happens to me all the time. Yeah, it does take patience, Martha. That is 100% for sure. It takes a lot of patience. And if I had that spray, or I could use the baking soda routine here if I wanted to, and put the baking soda on it, but I didn't bring the baking soda over because basically I am not showing you too much on how to do this to make leaves for your tree. I'm just showing you how to make a tree trunk. And then you have to wait for it to dry. And this, it always amazes me. Super glue or crazy glue or whatever you want to call this type of glue, even this one, the Gorilla Super Glue Gel, which I happen to love, it will bond your skin instantly, but it just takes an eternity, not an eternity, but a while on other things. It's not as fast as when it bonds onto your skin. I've done this with fabric tack, and the reason why I'm not using fabric tack, which is one of my most favorite glues, is because it's just a little too lumpy for me. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if we can do another one. just to show you what you would do after you get the wires together. Let that dry. Where's another one? Straighten out my wire. I put the wire in. Maybe this one will work better. And then just leave it down the center and just sit there for a while. Oh, everything's going all over. So to speed this up, you really need a glue that dries quickly. Not like all of these glues are not drying now. And I would not use hot glue. Definitely would not use hot glue on this, simply because, well, you can't get hot glue that thin that you need over here. And it would just be more messy than anything else. Now I am leaving myself an awful lot of wire. So you're going to go through a lot of wire when you're trying to put leaves on. And I would leave as much as I possibly can. Okay. Then you take your 2 leaves. And this everyone shows you. You just twist them. Okay. Oops, we lost the leaf because we weren't patient. Hold on, we'll get that leaf back. Come on. Come on, guys. This is not turning out to be. Okay, get down there and dry. All right, so let's be patient. So I'm sitting here with 2 leaves. This leaf, oh, is the first leaf that's still not sticking. Okay, because that was the one where the little piece turned back. Okay, so that should move now. And you just twist them. And then, of course, you're going to have more leaves than this. As you're gathering it together, then, once you have this, you can put another couple over this way. This takes, you can just play with this for a while, but the reason why I'm even showing you this part is because, see, they're wrapped together, because I want to show you what I'm going to do afterwards with it. Okay, good. And once they dry, you can play with them a little bit more. Okay. So you have bunches of leaves, and your wire can be as thicker, this size. I don't know what this is. I think it's even a little bit thinner than it is thinner than the regular florist wire that you can buy in stores. I have it really, really thin here, where it's just it's like almost the thickness of a thick hair. I have this wire in a couple of different gauges. This one is, okay, 32. So this one must be a 28. Okay. Now, you're going to be inserting this into your limb. And you want to cover all of this stuff right here. So what you take, and if you're not allergic to it, this is called Mold Builder, and it's liquid latex rubber. And I'm just going to put these down for a second, and hopefully this still is in good shape. This thing smells, by the way, guys. This has a horrible ammonia smell, so do not put it near your nose. Now, I don't have a good paintbrush here, but you take it and you start to cover all of the little wires. Where would you be able to see that best? You start to cover all of the wires, and it gives them a little bit more thickness. Okay. And you can put on a couple of coats of this. And once you get it all coated, you just let it dry. Now, I could also have dunked, if the leaves are on where I'm not going to get it in, I could dunk it in and it coats it like that. The only problem is now I got to find some place for this to dry, and the leaves are going to be sticking to my fingers because for some reason the gel is not dried yet. But whatever, the super glue gel. But this gives it a coating that will cover the wire twisting, and also you can paint it. You're going to paint it because it dries almost like a clear yellow, clear, but there's a yellow cast to it. But once it dries, you can bend it and it doesn't break because it is liquid latex. So I will probably be making a bush or two for this diorama, and that is how I'm going to make my bush. Maybe I'll come on and show you. It'll be a real quick one because now you have to wait for this to dry. Now, it doesn't take long, but you do have to wait for it to get like that semi clear-ish look to it, and you'll see the wire underneath. But you can paint it then, and you can paint it any color you want. So if you want black stems, you can make them black. If you want very light twigs, you can paint them with the light tan. But I just wanted to show you this. Now, Michael's had this, Martha, I just want to tell you, Michael's had this, and I had it sent to me. When I got it, it must have froze or something, so it was almost like rubber. So you got to, I think you should go to the store for it because you got to make sure and tell them to open it up when you go to the counter to make sure that it's not old and air didn't get into it, because this was about, it was under $20, I believe, but it has to be liquid. And I had to return the one that I bought, and I showed it to them. It was like, just, it was all jelly, hard. And it's not really hard, but you know what I mean. It looked like a gel thing because all the rubber was, I guess, either exposed to air or it was frozen. So, and I've had this for years now. I don't know how many, but I know it's over 2 or 3 years, and it's still okay. I make sure the cap is tight. I don't leave it in the sun, of course, and it's sort of cool where the rest of my craft supplies are. It's not warm. Okay, so that's what that is. So if you're going to want to make lead, that's how I do it. Now, when you're going, I'm also getting that stuff. I'll talk more about it when I get it because it's hard to describe to people. But if you watch some of the channels that make terrain for dioramas, you can see what I was talking about. But if you don't, then it's better if I just show it to you. It's from Woodland Scenics. Okay, so let me clear up all of the leaf building stuff. Let's leave that. And when it dries, that's going to dry hopefully in the time that it takes me to finish making my tree trunk. I'll show you what color it looks like. Okay. Now, this is my third one. I didn't make it fully, but here's some suggestions. I was using my good aluminum foil. I can move this back a little bit now because it's killing my eyes. I would have definitely, if I thought about it, went over to the dollar store and bought some of their aluminum. Good. You watch about 6 different people on all of that. Yes, I watch quite a few too. Black Magic Crafts. I can't think of all the names, but you know who I'm talking about because you watch them. Okay. I would have gotten aluminum foil from the Dollar Tree. I know it's thinner than this, but it's $1. I would have picked up 2 of them and just went, trying to figure it out because I wasn't happy with the first 2 trees. And basically what I did was I took a strip. I don't have any, cheap aluminum foil, and I don't want to use any more of my Reynolds. You take a sheet, however long you think you want your tree to be, and you just start crumbling it and twisting it and getting it into shape. That's the really easy part. That's something you just have to experiment with. Then I took another piece about the little bit shorter, crumbled it. I put them side to side together, wrapped them with more, like I took a sheet of tin foil this long, wrapped it around and crumbled it all together. So, and then these I added after I had them, and I added them to the top of whatever my tin foil looked like. I put like a pin in through here and here, and then just wrap the little pieces of tin foil around it. So trees are very, very easy to make out of tin foil. You just play with it basically. And you and me watch about the same things, June. Yeah, we do. We do, Martha. I don't watch any beading or paper channels, but I'm sure you do. But as far as like dioramas, yeah, we watch the same. And then you can add pieces with little pieces of crumbled up foil and add it to it. Then you wrap more tin foil around, or stick a pin in here and then just stick a pin in this and then stick it in there. And then when it was all done, and I tried to squish it so that there was no air bubbles in this, I took a skewer, a barbecue skewer, just so that when I put this into the diorama, I have something that will go through the material that I'm using as the ground cover. Okay. And also to go into the base, it just gives it more stability. This is going to be glued in with some really heavy duty glue. I don't have the brand that I have right now. It could be E6000, but I have a different brand that I'm liking, and I'll show it to you later. I'm not going to run and get it, but you can make any shape that you want. And then what I was taught when I was first starting with polymer clay, we always used aluminum foil armatures. There's no wire in here. Well, there is a little wire in here because of the connection. I made a connection here with wire because this wasn't long enough. And then I just put foil all around it. But I was taught, and I know Ace of Clay does something different. He uses some kind of polymer clay, light polymer clay, to make a base between the aluminum foil and the clay. When I was first taught, and when I was reading books, because we didn't have YouTube when I was first learning how to use polymer clay, I followed Catherine Dewey, who I love her books. I've mentioned her before. And what she would do was she would take regular tacky glue. This is the kind I have. And just coat the entire armature, the entire thing of tin foil with that. And that's exactly what I did. I just took to real sloppy, real messy. That's why I'm not doing it on. And also everything takes so long to dry. I just dipped my paintbrush, put it on, dipped my paintbrush in some water and spread it out just so that the majority of the tree was covered. And then this morning, what I was doing was I have Cos clay, which is a flexible clay when dried. And when I originally had to purchase it, you could get like a set of it. It wasn't singly like you can get it now. So I got the set of white, gray, and black. And I used up all the gray, used up all the black, but I still have the white left. And I don't usually use white clay, polymer clay. The two colors that three, I use the flesh tones for my mice for their noses and tails. Of course, I use the black. And then for other things, I prefer ecru. Ecru and Primo. And it's like a light beige tan color, and that's because I like to use alcohol inks when I'm coloring my clay. And the alcohol ink looks so rich and beautiful on a beige background, mostly because I'm using the warmer colors when I'm making things. I don't use the blues so much, but I'm using like the browns, the reds, and the orange alcohol inks. I don't use a lot of teal colors, blues in my work. Even purples look okay on this. So I mixed my white and whatever gray I had left and my black. And I used all my white just to get to the point where I would use it, because I am not going to use a clay, I'm not going to use the white clay. So we put this down, and then I rolled it through my pasta machine numerous times. And you just cover your armature with the clay. And the most important part of this, the first part of doing this, is to make sure that you don't have any air bubbles. Now, you're not trying to go for smoothness here to a certain, I mean, you don't want it to look weird, but you're trying to make, a tree is not a dowel rod. What I would also suggest is, I should like to make oak trees. I don't like that because I can feel that there's an air pocket. So I want to get, so if it's lumpy and bumpy, that's fine. That's, trees are lumpy and bumpy. I mean, at least oak trees are. I'm not. So take your time in getting the clay on the armature. Okay. Hope I've made enough clay here. I'm going to use this one. I think this was the one. We'll see. I'll try to line it up a little bit. And then while I'm sculpting it, I can smooth it out. But since, I'll be using different things to sculpt with. Now, I don't need this tree to be much thicker in diameter than this. Just cutting off the extra. And this is, I think, but I like trees, but this is a real easy thing to start sculpting if you wanted to in polymer clay. I don't know what if you're just putting trees, but trees all over the house look cool. You could do different things with them, but you can make them, if you wanted to make it so that you can hang your jewelry from it, I would definitely suggest using a wire armature inside. Nothing is going on this tree. This tree is just hanging out, but you can make a tree for your jewelry stand. If you're first starting out with polymer clay, this is one of the easier things besides a snowman. Hey, Sandy. How you doing? Welcome to trees. What was I going to say? This is something that you could create. Now, a wire armature is just by taking some aluminum armature wire. Again, you could get that at Dick Blick. I'm not sure if you can get it at Michael's. I think you can. but you can get more for less. You might have to pay more up front, but you're getting a lot more wire. If you go to a place called like Dick Blick, look up Armature Wire. And if you are trying to make a tree for jewelry, oh yeah, hi honey, you going? Good luck. Love you. What was I going to say? You would just take wires and shape them in the way that you want. You could twist them, or you could just leave them side by side and wrap a little wire around it, like one of the thinner wires like this, and wrap it around. And then you're putting tin foil on it, a little bit of tin foil on it to give it a little bit of thickness, because you don't want to make your polymer clay. That's another thing. You don't want to make your polymer clay to be like more than a half an inch thick, unless unless you're making like a little block or something like that, because polymer clay on the whole does crack. That's why we're using armatures, and that's why I like using the cos clay, because the cos clay will bend. So it doesn't have you can bend it so it doesn't crack as much as the regular, well, I use Primo. If I'm not using cos clay, I use Primo sculpting. Those are the ones, and that's just because those are what I'm using. I don't know, I don't know other clays that well. I've used a few different ones, but those what I like. I'm okay just taking a chill. Just chill with us, Sandy. We are making trees. It couldn't be any more chill if you tried. Right? This is fun. Well, for me, it's fun. So back again with the type of tree you're using, or the type of tree you're making. You're not using it, but I'm sort of doing a generic oak tree type tree. If you were doing pine trees, I think the bark is a little bit different than what I'm going to be doing here. And I think my clay, I rolled it out on my thickest pasta machine setting, so I think that's about 1/8 of an inch. Do I have a ruler? I usually have a ruler. Let's see what it is. Yeah, it's about a little shy of 1/8 of an inch thick. Yeah, my left hand has the same thing that my father does. It just shakes. I wish it didn't. Yeah, it's a little less than 1/8. But you know what? It really doesn't bother me. It only shakes when I'm trying to hold it still. Isn't that weird? Kind of like, yeah, we are making a 3-dimensional happy little unleafed tree without a lot of twigs to it. Oh, there's air pockets all over this. You can feel them. Once you start, you can really feel the air pockets. I'll show you some of the things I do when I feel them. Okay. I'm just trying to spread this. I'm going to cut that off, all of that, in a second. That's one thing. You don't really want to have any kind of big air pockets between your tree and your armature, because, and I've had this happen to me when I was trying to cover a wooden dowel, because I was making a marbleized column, it'll puff up. It'll puff up in the baking, and then you have this big puff up. And that doesn't look so good. And the reason why I'm saying between trees and snowmen are good for your first projects, if you were going to make things in polymer clay. See, you can see the air bubble there. So there's too much clay, so I'm just going to cut it off. Look, there was your air bubble. It's because you don't have to be exact with this. If first time you're sculpting and you want to make a face, good luck. I would suggest using the darkest clay you can, because by the time you finish, you're going to have 1,000 bits of dirt in it, and it's going to look, unless you want a sculpture of a face that looks like they have a lot of blackheads. Polymer clay attracts dirt. It just does. You know, it just picks up everything because it's sticky. So it picks up everything. Now, one of the things with the tree that you have to watch out for is this part cannot be thicker than that part because that doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make sense. So I have to thicken this part a little bit just so that I'm just using, you know, the pieces of clay that I have there just to make it a little bit thicker so this part makes more sense. And as far as smoothing it, very easy to smooth. Because again, I'm not trying to get like, you know, really technically detail-y here. Keep running my root. And I'm really not liking how thick this is. So we're going to take some clay off and spread it around. And if by the time I'm done, I still don't like how thick this is, I might go back and try to thin, you know, take the clay off and cut a little of the tin foil away. But we'll see. And I'm sort of pushing the clay here. So once you have it, it's just sort of fun to do this. Just try to figure it out. Martha, what are you up to? Did you finish your Western town that you were going to put all of your paper quilling supplies in? I haven't seen a picture of it on Facebook. I know that the last YouTube video you were working on that. I watched it. Oh, okay, let's take a look. You see now? Can anyone see? Does it need to go against the dark background? Maybe you'd see it more like that. The liquid latex pretty much dried entirely. And you can almost like not tell that you put it on. There's still little parts that you can see where it looks whitish or yellowish that it has to dry. But no, just have to put the railings to it. Okay, been mostly beading. Excellent. Yeah, I loved your beading. You were doing the Rivolis. I hope I'm saying that right. Rivolis, and they were purple, I think, or lavender. Pretty colors, whatever color it was. It was a very pretty necklace that you were working on. Well, or you showed that you were working on. Okay. Now you could get really gnarly with your limbs. You can do a lot of twisty limbs. Pine trees, like Christmas trees, are normally just one straight thing. Oh, okay, you're sewing on the bracelet now. Bead embroidery, I want to try. Well, Sandy, I think Martha does that, right? Martha, you do that? I don't remember if I've ever seen a video of you doing that, though. That's why I try to remember, but sometimes my mind just goes kaflooey. Now, I wanted this one when I was making it to be a little thicker, so I'm going to be adding a little bit more clay to this. I just think it would look better if this, yes, she does. See, I knew it. I knew she did it. thought, well, I almost knew she did it. I just want this to be a little thicker. I mean, for the longest time there, those little trees for jewelry things was very popular. I kept seeing them. I was thinking of making one because, of course, I would make one instead of buying one. But then I just said, nah, I made trees for other things. So I am just putting the good, Sandy. That's how, if you don't know how to do something, that's the best way to begin, is to copy. I Hey, Barbara, how you feeling? I'm making happy little Bob Ross trees, only in 3D. I shouldn't say that. I don't know if I'm going to get hit with something. I don't know if they want me to be saying his. Okay. Just got up to take meds, not staying, going back to bed. Okay. Thank you for dropping in, Barbara. You can listen to me because I usually put people right to sleep. Okay, so what you're doing, and this takes a while, is you're covering the entire armature with tinfoil. And once this tinfoil breaks, see this is a little wiggly, it won't be anymore. Because the polymer clay, even though this is the cause clay, will keep it together. Oh, I feel air pockets in there too. So take some off. Oh, no problem, Barbara. You don't have to worry. You just feel better, okay? That's all. Do what you have to do. Just feel better. Whew. Okay. We're getting there. I've only been on, is this time correct? Oh, I've been on for 48 minutes. It feels like I've been on for hours. I thought I went on at 11:30. Aw, your grandbaby back to sleep. Aw, I'm glad she's good. What's your grandbaby's name? Oh, I got good news. I am on well, I got my okay. I got my Medicare card in the mail. So as of July 1st, I am a card carrying member of Medicare. So you guys just watch out. My retirement date is set for September 19th. Thank you. Thank you. I have to go in. I started work on the 19th. So to make sure that it's 15 years, I have to go in for 10 days next year. 10 days well, not next year. Thank you, Krista. 10 days next So on September 19th of this year, so I think we have, what is it? If my teacher was here, we would have the count like 58, 7 something days plus 10, because to go into the 19th means I have to go in for 10 days. I don't know where they're going to put me or what I'm going to be doing for 10 days. They certainly can't put me as the single teacher's aide in a person's classroom because I'm going to be leaving in 10 days, which doesn't make any sense. And if they put me someplace where I don't want to be put, then I'm going to be using some sick days. Because, once you're retiring, it's like, what are you going to say to me? After all this time, this isn't the time where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be like congratulated, not be given a hard time. You did it. You made it. You're elderly and you're still alive. Thank you, Martha. I'm very happy about it myself. Because I remember when there was when we couldn't go to the school, when we weren't in school because of the pandemic, that we stopped in, what was it, March of 2020, and we had March, April, May, June, July, and then I think we went back that September very cautiously. We did go back, but I remember that time, as besides being very concerned about what was going on in the world, but I also remember that time being very creative and having time to go on YouTube, having time to do things. I created a lot of stuff that summer, and it felt really nice to get so many things made. That's fine, because I'm thinking of moving, Krista, so you have to come soon. But I would love to have you. I'm not sure where I'm going, but I'm thinking of the West Coast right now. But I would love to have you, Krista. It would be fun. You just have to tell me. I know that you were saying that you have food preferences, so you're going to have to tell me food preferences way in advance. Okay. Oof. Now, if I was doing this not on a show, on live air, I can imagine, because I wouldn't want to go anywhere out of my country by myself. I don't even like really traveling in my country by myself. But if you came here, we can definitely go seeing the sights in the city. No state income taxes. Nice. Tennessee. Nice. Did you get snow? Sandy, did you get snow? California? Yeah. Well, I've been there a few times to California. My sister lives out in California. She lives in southern part of California. Not she lives in a place called San Pedro, which is about an hour away from LA. So I've been to LA a few times. I've also been to San Francisco, which is more north. Oh, don't eat much, and I buy my own. Oh dear goodness. Okay, I'm Italian, Krista. Sorry. It's a nationality thing. We have to feed people. Um, let's see what I was going to say. So when we went to California, LA is nice, but when we went to San Francisco, I really fell in love with San Francisco. But That is a very, very expensive place to live. Very, even more than New York. It was the highest city to live in. Okay. Okay, what was I saying? If I was doing this, that's what I was saying. I'm squirreling again. If I would do this while you people were not here, I would be taking breaks during this, because it gets a little much, but to show, and I know that, a lot of people have those time lapse, and I really like that where, you don't see the actual time it takes them, but I'm not that good. It's like when you have an Etsy shop. Not much. We get about 5 inches about a week ago. Wow. Is that 5 inches a lot, or was that all you ever got for the whole winter, Sandy? Or is that 5 inches on top of like 5 inches a week? What was I saying? Okay. I was talking about people who can do like cut on the internet and my Etsy shop. All right. I think I've said this before, but it's something that's worth repeating. When people would see a long time ago, before I had my own shop, people would say, "Oh, you should sell that. You should sell that. You should sell that." And I would always be like, "Well, where am I going to sell it?" Because I don't think my work is the same quality as craft fair stuff. I've seen things in craft fairs, and unless it's sort of an elite craft fair, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to sound um, like a snob, but the quality of my work is a little bit higher than what I'd see at craft fairs. Is Vegas near you or near California? Vegas is more near California. It's in Nevada. No, California is horrible for taxes and farms are drying up the groundwater, fires, earthquakes. Um, so I really didn't know where I could sell it, and then somebody thought about doing Etsy. And I started my Etsy shop. And I have to tell you, I'm not computer savvy. I'm really not. I mean, I get to do more things than my 89-year-old aunt, who I love dearly, but I'm not one of these people who knows. I mean, you should see when my daughter comes here and starts doing things. It's like, what did you do? So starting my Etsy shop was a little bit hair raising for me because there's so many things you have to do. You have to, besides taking pictures, taking nice pictures and uploading. And then let me tell you, that's a little bit harder at the time. Now we all have great cameras on our phones, but it wasn't so easy way back then because you had to get a new camera. I had to get a camera and try to figure out how lighting, and I wasn't like, so you have to learn how to use a camera to a certain degree. I mean, taking shots of your friends way back then, which was about 10, what was it? Almost 10 years ago. Cameras on cell phones have improved so much. The quality have improved tremendously. And, taking shots of you just taking shots if you're going out and taking shots of friends and stuff like that, that's easy to do as compared to taking what they call, I guess, macro shots. It wasn't very easy for me to set that all up. So that was something I had to learn. Then you had to learn how to make your store policies, how to ship things. You always have to have a bunch of boxes and tape and bubble wrap around. Thank you, Krista. Thank you, Sandy. June, you make stuff people want to. No, Martha, what I'm saying, wait, for the whole winter, and it was only on the grassy areas, I will eat pasta, but not cheese. Okay, I'm sorry, catching up. Pasta's good. We'll make homemade pasta then. Um, I'm just saying that as far as like for craft shows, things like that. I've seen the stuff that's at craft shows, and I mean, those, those out on the street things, it just, whatever. Okay. So you have to learn a lot of different things to open up your shop. You have to have your shop policies. You have to have boxes. You have to learn how to wrap things, which is fine. Everybody thinks, but when you're sending delicate things, you have to wrap it without killing the thing, wrapping it, and then getting it in the box and making sure um, you don't kill it by what you wrap around it. Not kill it, ruin it, break it. It's not like, for instance, if I was sending ribbon someplace, that would be really easy. You shove it in one of those padded envelopes and you're done. No, ribbon will not be hurt. So, okay, so that was that. So we figured that out. And then you have to figure out your mailing policies, if you would take returns. And then you have to set up your PayPal accounts, all these lovely things. So, okay, you get all that done. It's not easy. So now, like, I love watching what the whole point of this. Hi, Shirley. Hi, Shirley. How you doing? I'm so glad you see it. And again, thank you for all the people that have said about my work. Then you like with all of these with the videos that people do, you know, if you listen to them, if you really listening to them, editing a video takes a good long while for them. And doing the voiceover, it can take almost a day of crafting time to do that. Now, I can learn how to do that because my daughter knows how to do it very, very well. You know, my daughter knows, because when I do have edited videos, my daughter is the one who's editing. I will make little, you know, do little pieces of it and put it in a file, and she'll put it all together and stuff like that. But I haven't figured out how to do voiceovers. But it's it's not like, these are the things I who wanted to learn how to do this? You know, I just sort of wanted to just do my craft. I mean, it's enough that when you're doing multiple types of crafting with either sculpting, felting, dressing, you know, doing some beading work, putting things together, that's a lot of, it's like you're a jack of all trade. And then you got to become a photographer. Not that I'm the best photographer, but you have to become a photographer, a packer. You know, it's a lot of little trades that you have to learn. And of course, knowledge is good. But this video stuff, I mean, my daughter has tried to teach me, but oh, it's just, I guess I have this thing about it, and it's just not sticking in my head. Just not sticking in my head at all. Because then, you know, you can make videos and you can do the voiceovers, because I like some of those, and it doesn't take, you know, if I had to do a voiceover, it wouldn't take a half an hour just to get the tree covered in polymer clay. But in real time, that's what it takes. That's what it takes. Yeah, Shirley has 3 of my mices. I think you have the peach one. That was so cute. She was Clarice, I think her name was. I think you have a purple one, but I don't remember what the other one was. Sorry, my brain, Shirley. It's not as good as it used to be. Okay, so through all that yakking, and I hope it didn't sound like complaining, what it was is a reality thing. Okay. You wish you could hire somebody to do all the rest of it, but then they would probably cost more money than making this whole thing. Yep. When I retire, I will learn somehow. And then I can do my little voiceovers. So covering a tin foil armature of a polymer clay would take 5 minutes, guys. But in reality, I couldn't do. I would, yeah, Krista. Yes, you know what it is, Krista. I put on my school. I wish Mike was here. Okay, I put on um my school hat, because you can't curse in school. But the other morning, I'm still wearing a mask in school. I decided that even though everybody else is maskless, I was going to wear a mask until my daughter, who went for her booster shot 2 weeks ago, the full 2 weeks went on, just so that she's covered with her booster. Not that it's prevalent anymore. It's not prevalent, or at least not in our neighborhood anymore in Suffolk, New York. But I just wanted to wait the 2 weeks, because she's, you know, everyone suffered from it in different ways, some more than others. And, you know, I'm not comparing our suffering to the people who have lost people. I wouldn't dare. But, you know, whatever. Okay. So on Friday, for some reason, I don't know how this happened, but for Friday, I didn't have, um, I didn't have a mask. I didn't have a mask in my car or anything. So I pulled up and I was looking all over. My teacher pulls up next to me and she goes, "June, what are you doing?" And I said, well, this wasn't exactly what I said, but you can get that. I was like, and I yelled it, which is not really smart, but at least it was before school. It was like, "Poop." You know, I can't find an effing mask. And another one of the other teachers drove up, and they're like, "Wow, that's really good this morning." Oh my goodness. So yes, I do have a foul mouth, but we can't do that on YouTube. Besides, we all know the words, right? So I don't have to say them live and in person. No children are supposed to be watching me because I set that on my YouTube channel. That was another whole, like, a whole tempest in a teapot about how to make sure that your channel isn't for children. And there were some people that were really concerned about that. I mean, I don't know if they're even following up on that or they figured they passed their laws. But there was, I think, Martha, you would know, where the gnomes live. She was very concerned about that. Uh, and I'm not even sure if she went off for a while because just to make sure, because a lot of her content would be wonderful for kids, but then if she put it on the kid thing, you wouldn't get advertising. You would probably have a hard time being monetized or something. I don't know. There was all sorts of rules. And I felt really bad for her because she went off for quite some time. I guess maybe just to make sure that she was going to be safe. Oh, otherwise, yeah. Well, we're not wearing masks anymore here. As much, I don't think. But okay, so now I'm adding, like that looked a little light to me. Okay, let's see. To give it some shape. Okay. Oof. 12:06, 1 hour. I've made one tree. Okay. So now this is really the part that takes this is the sculpting part. This part is just, you can see smoke. No, Krista, it's not smoke. She's in what do you call that when, like, I'm trying to think of a good thing to say in my mind. You know how, like, when steam rises, when you go from this exotic place where you go in and see one of those people who do you call it, say the future? A seer, an oracle. That, she's like an oracle. She's having the steam rise from the oracle. Is that smoking? Okay. All right. Oh, I'm off. There we go. All right. So now we are going to take a break because my thumbs are getting a little bit sore. A little sip of coffee. I have to have my coffee. That's it. Incense burning. Thank you, Sandy. Jump in, please, because I'm having a little bit of a hard time. Okay, next thing. Again, I store my polymer clay in plastic bags. Just so that it doesn't, not that it would, well, just to keep it a little bit less from drying out and getting dirt on it. I always did store it in plastic bags. I don't know if that's what you're supposed to do. I always did it that way. Okay. Okay. No, that's okay, Sandy. Well, we're not wearing any of that anymore. Let me take one of them. See, this is the way I smoke. I choose Nicaraguan gum. Okay. All right. So an important thing to do with your polymer clay is to just feel it. You start to feel air bubbles. You can know. Now I am sure there's tiny air bubbles. I'm talking major ones. And by the time I finish putting texture in here. Okay. So let's take a look on this with when it only had. All right. So as you can see, this pretty much dried. I would give it another coat. But what you can do is once you finish these and of course, this is going to be a lot more complex than just this little 2-strand. You stick them in the tree. And you got a little thing And then once you stick them in, you could add a little bit more clay coming up. Say this was a whole big branch. Now, I wouldn't make it that heavy. All right. I wouldn't make it that if I was going to make it that heavy, I would have something that I was connecting it to where I could, again, if I'm making something heavy with the polymer clay, I would have a wire armature through here, and I would take this and I'd somehow connect it to the wire armature, whether that was taking wire from here and using it to wrap around, or putting it next to the wire armature and wrapping more wire around it to make sure that the connection is secure. Okay, so if you are doing leaves, you have to figure that out first. And you would have to make your leaves first, or or make as many of these as possible. Do not bake this yet. Stick them in, and if you have to make more, you make more. But there would be a heck of a lot more than this just one, and the other leaf came off because I didn't wait for the super glue, the CA glue, to dry. So that's the way to make leaves. Now, if you're doing green leaves, of course, the tree is going to have more green leaves on it. Now, the thing with the green leaves, if you look at like Luke Cowan and the other miniature diorama people, they use a lot of this fluff that you can buy from Woodland Scenics. I am going to get some of the orange and yellow fluff to see how it would look on my bushes. I'm not sure. They do it a totally different way, but I am sure that you can use some of their techniques for when you're making a larger one if you don't want to make leaves for it, if you want a nice green tree. I personally, green trees, new tree, trees in the summer, the spring are very pretty, but I sort of like trees always more in the winter because you can see their structure. They're beautiful in the summer. No, and in the spring when they first all get either their little red or the green, light green buds on them. But I do always prefer trees in the fall or in the winter. And because to me, a bunch of trees against the winter sky, which is like that light blue, that light denim blue and cream with the trees and some light coming through, is just gorgeous. Or of course the fall, foliage, whatever foliage, I think it is. I don't know. I hear it different ways. So, um, but now we're going no, it's paper. It's paper. You're putting it at a 275. No, paper, the paper wouldn't burn. It wouldn't burn in the oven. I put paper before in the oven. It won't burn. If you make all of this and you say, oh goodness, I want to have more leaves here or a little bit more stems there, and you already baked it, that's not a problem. With the baked clay, depending, again, you can't be making a whole new branch without doing massive surgery. But if the clay was baked, you just make a hole in it, try to get into the armature, stick this in, and then sculpt a little bit. Oh wait, I thought I lost both leaves. And sculpt a little bit more so that the connection doesn't look badly, and then you try to bake it again. Just make sure this part of it is in long enough so that it holds. I would also probably put some glue on the tip and to get it in a little bit. Okay, but if I did this right now, that would be enough to hold that, because again, my clay is wet or not baked. Okay. No, the paper, there's certain things that I have found. I have put a lot of things in my oven, probably more than I should have, because I have had put things in that have melted, and that was like styrofoam can't go in the oven. Not unless it's maybe covered by layers and layers and layers of tinfoil, but I would never put styrofoam in the oven. Paper can go in, fabric can go in, any natural material, cotton, wool. Let's see what else. I don't even know anymore. Of course, wire. I put a lot of times, if I had to fix things and it was dressed, I put it in the oven. with the clothes on it. But I take precautions on certain things. Like if I'm concerned about an area and it's not, like say this area is all dressed like a mouse, but this is the area I have to do something polymer clay with, I will take this area and I would take a bounty, and if I could, I would dampen it, not weten it, dampen it, wrap it around the area I was concerned about, and then wrap tin foil around that. And then, so that way this is sort of like cocooned, and the part that I want baked would be over here. I have done that many times before, like in a multi-series series baking. If you're doing a person's body totally in polymer clay, and certain parts will start to burn and darken. So what you can do is, if you're like trying to attach the arms and the hands and they're not baked, but you already baked the head and you don't want the head to get, and it's attached all together, but you don't want the head to get darker, you take if it's polymer clay and it was already baked, you can take a very damp bounty, cover the place that you don't want too much heat to go, wrap that in tin foil and then put it in, and that'll save it too. Wet, when I put this in the oven, I don't even know if I have my tray big enough. Yeah, I'll put a piece of tin foil on a baking tray, and usually I like to use the same baking trays all the time and only use them from polymer clay. But in this instance, I might use a baking tray that I don't normally use for polymer clay, and then just really clean it very well. They say it's non-toxic, then they say don't bake with, I don't know. But that's what I would do. But I am going to lay this on wet paper towels. So that way you don't, it won't get that shiny. Because if I took a piece of clay and put it down right here and put this in the oven, the area that is on near the tile would be very, very shiny when it finished baking. It would be like you put a lot of gloss on it. I don't want any of that to happen to this. And the wet paper towel, by the time it dries, because it will be dry when I pull this out of the oven, but it will not make any part of this shiny. Okay, now I'm probably, let's see if we can texture or start the texturing process. Okay. Now I don't, there's a lot I am going to be doing off screen to make this really look like it's connected. Okay, but let's just start some texture. I want to show you some things I use for texturing a tree trunk. If I had wrapped up tin foil, I could probably use that too. This is just a scrubby. Now I had a metal scrubby thing that you could pull apart, and what it basically looks like is a very soft screen. And it gave me and the holes, like when you pulled it and turned it, the holes turned all different shapes. So it wasn't as uniform as this type of a screen. Okay. And I used that to make, I forgot what you call it. Under a soldier from a long, long time ago, the metal links. I forgot what it's called. I used that I used the piece that I had. I used to use it as just texture for trees, but I used the piece I had to look like, what do you call that when it's metal? Meg! Oh, she's not answering. Okay. All right. Well, the links, the metal chainmail. It looked like small chainmail for one of my pieces, and I used it on that. Female magnets in the oven, but I think I always had it wrong. They used to burn a little somewhere. Okay. Chainmail. Thank you, Sandy. I did get it finally. And that would be great for this. But just to go through and see what you have. So I was trying to find things because I didn't have the one thing that I needed. So I'm just going to start texturing with anything to give it, look at that. Can anybody see that sticking? Oh, goodness gracious. Come on. I don't know if it'll sharpen up. Would it get, if I go really close, would you see it? Look at that texture. No. All right. Well, it's not going to show it. You just want to start getting texture. I do this, but I also do this way, which I really like too. It takes a while, but I really like doing where you're just drawing lines. And you're not trying to make them straight. You're just drawing lines in the trunk. Okay, you can do that. I can do a deeper one if I wanted to. And then, you know, sculpt a little bit. And then when you take this and put it over it, it sort of softens it. I'm pressing pretty hard. You could also take, oak trees have the definite lines in it. You can take sandpaper, and if you don't have a tool like this isn't necessary, take a toothpick. Okay, don't be going out or one of these things. I call these pokey tools, but these are tools that Martha dots with. I've had it for pokey tools. I don't dot paint. I couldn't dot paint anything like Martha. Whenever I have to dot, I just put a little dot of paint on something. It always turns out into a holy moly. What the heck did I just do? So you're adding texture to the tree, and you certainly don't want it to look flat at any point in time. And that's why this is such a good thing for a beginner, because you're not going for excellence. The rougher it is, the better it looks. Now, I know Martha uses polymer clay. Krista and Sandy, do you guys, ladies, you guys, okay. Do you use any polymer clay? Just different things that you can do. You make a little snake, like little knots. Then you can take your fingers if you don't have a toothpick. I mean, if you don't have one of these tools, and just smooth it in. I mean, there's a whole heck of a lot of things that you can do with tree texturing. That's why it's sort of fun, because nothing has to be so exact. I can use this to make my lines. Make even thicker line, deeper lines in it. And please don't try to be like, go straight. This is when it's good if you have like a little thing in your hand, like a little shake. And then you can go across if you wanted to. I usually like to go across first and then down, but that breaks up. And then if you can get like the clay, I think I'm trying to show it to you where it flips up a little bit. That's fine too. That really gives it nice texture. And you just go over it and over it until you get the kind of texture that you want. And if you don't like it, you just take it and smooth the whole thing out again. It's not a big deal. You got your clay on your armature, and you just do this all around and you have fun. And then you can go back and take your other thing that you have, since you don't have the metal thing, and there go like that. It smooths it out a little bit more. I'm sorry that my camera isn't the greatest where you could really see all the texture here, but with this, but it will add texture to this. Now, this tree, how I'm going to paint this tree, let me go and explain this to everybody so that they know. The first thing I am going to do is put a dark brown. I used to have lots of it in my craft room, but as you know, my hand, yes, like it used to, but I would love to get back to it. Okay, Krista, well, you know what? If you try to do stuff that you don't have to be exact, I know your hand doesn't, do it, and you can have fun with something like this. It's tiring because there was so much of it, but, make a jewelry tree for your jewelry, for your necklaces. Doesn't, and then you just would take this and put it on one of those little wooden blocks that you can buy from the craft stores. If you want, that's just, once you have the metal armature on it, the wire, what was I going to say? Okay, painting. I'm going to paint this. This is how the order I'm going to paint this in. I'm going to paint this in a dark brown black. The whole thing is getting painted in a dark brown black. Not black, just one shade off of it. So what I'm going to use is my black gesso and raw umber, or burnt umber if I have any more. I'd prefer burnt umber because it's a darker, redder color. But I like the raw umber because it's got the green tint to it. It's a greener brown, and that looks better with trees. So that's going all over it. And then I'm going to take different colors and I'm going to dry brush them on them. The first is going to be probably a tannish type color, or a tan gray type color. And the last color would be a whitish tan gray, which I will dry brush onto it, but it will be in those three orders of the color that I want to achieve. I don't know if I'm going to be putting any moss on this, but if I do put moss on certain places, I'm going to have to make a whitish, it's almost like a whitish bluish color, whitish bluish green that you put like over some areas, and then you put a little moss over it. So it just depends on how it looks. I'm trying to get a certain color. I also tried doing a castle out of the Coca-Cola bottles with clay. I love doing it. Look, until it dried, all the clay cracked. I was very upset. Oh goodness. What kind of clay? What kind of clay did you use? Good. What kind of clay do you use, Krista? Do you use the paper clay? Or if you use self-drying clay, I have found that self-drying clay cracks tremendously. If you could do something, you know what, with the Coke bottle plastic, I'm trying to think of a way to do it. You could cover it. What you could cover it with, trying to think. That's too. You can cover it with paper towels. You can paper mache it and cover it with paper towels. You can flatten them out. Paper clay would crack a little bit, but the self-hardening clay self-hardening clay definitely cracks when it dries. I don't like that's I'm sure there are people that know how to use it. I don't. It always cracks on me, so I don't use it. You couldn't cover it with polymer clay because the plastic bottles would definitely melt in the oven. That's something. You could do paper mache, absolutely. I would I would use paper towels and cover it with paper towels. You know, that paper mache with paper towels. Look at where the gnomes live. She does uh beautiful work. And what she uses, and she amazes me every time, is she uses tin foil, masking tape. She also used paper clay that she's made, but she basically what she always uses is tin foil, masking tape, and paper towels and white glue. And she gets all of her supplies from the Dollar Tree, or can get all of supplies from the Dollar Tree. So it's not expensive. And she does everything with like with those four things. And then, of course, paint and stuff. But she makes figures with it. She also uses, and it always surprises me when she does, she uses yarn to make flock. Yeah, the drying clay would do that. And then once you put another channel to go is Bentley House Minis. She used depending on how much texture she wanted, look for her in Bentley House Minis. Look for her. Um, I'm coming to it. Look for her cardboard cardboard house. Look for her cardboard house. She did that during the pandemic, and she made an entire dollhouse, everything, out of stuff that you had in the house in case you couldn't go out and buy craft supplies. It's not funny, but it's just she made a doll out of toilet tissue. I mean, you have to see how creative. So the two channels I would suggest to you are trees are awesome, aren't they, Barbara? I would suggest is Where the Gnomes Are and Bentley House Minis, especially her cardboard house. Because she did it. Now, I know you're not doing with cardboard. You can still do it with the Coke bottles, but she put a mixture of spackle, I think it was, spackle and white glue on the cardboard house afterwards, which if is something that you could probably do to your Coke bottles and it wouldn't crack. I don't know if it would stick to the Coke bottles, so you might have to um why is something that's being shown? What? Oh, it's just me. I don't know if you would have to do something with masking tape for the Coke bottles, but I'm sure that it would work. Okay. 12, let's see, 11, 12. Okay, so I'm going to continue texturing this for a little while. It's not going to get done simply because it takes a while to do this, and I'm not going to spend the whole day. I will come back after I stay on for a little while and, do a little bit here, do a little bit there, fix some of the connections here because I don't like, it doesn't really look real to me. You put more clay. You do watch. Okay, so then the Bentley House Minis, that what she used on her cardboard house, that mixture, I think it's in the second or the third video in this series. That kind of stuff you can, and it's just painted on, or but you could also use the paper towels and glue method. I think you're going to, the reason why I'm like fumfering so much is I think you have to make a base, some kind of a base between the plastic of the bottles and whatever you're going to use, like to paint it with. So those might be helpful. Now this thing right here is just going to be too thick. If I can't get this to look the way I want to, it's coming off and I will make it out of wire because wire is thinner. Okay. If I can't get this to look how I want it. So this is the time, getting back to this piece, This is the time where you can make adjustments, change your mind. Nothing is written in stone. The only thing, as long as you're happy, and I'm pretty happy with this, I'm going to have to mess around with the connections and how it goes into the tree. Nothing is right now like definite, except for the basic structure. This is not a part of the basic structure, so if it doesn't look good because it's too thick, it's got to narrow out here more, and I don't know if I can do that with the thickness of the tin foil. I either have to make this whole area thicker, and I don't know if that's what I want, but I am not going to be putting this in the oven right away. This could stay really out on my art desk for about a month before it would get to the point where it would be iffy if I stuck it into the oven. But if I put this in a plastic bag, where the gnomes are, is that the right name? Yeah, it's where the gnomes are. Malta, could you put the link in there? You can do links, right? Wait a minute, or should I do? Hold on, I'll see if I can get a link for you. Okay, well, I'm trying. I hope I didn't lose you guys on the other side. Here we are. That's where the gnomes are. Sharon are yellow dollhouses. Bentley House. It's the, look for this one. Hold on, we'll find it. It's the playlist. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, don't play. That's, I think, what I'm posting there is the playlist to the cardboard houses on Bentley House minis. Oh, I see what's happening. No, the tour of the tour to watch a room tour of the tree. That's on where the gnomes live. That's the Sharon or Yellow Ojala. And then the other one that I gave you, the link that's right above your thanks, sweetie, is the link to the cardboard home on Bentley House Minis. Okay, so this is just, and I can, okay, so getting back to this, especially when I'm going to do the roots, I can add clay to this to make, I can add a little pieces of clays to it, make it more lumpy, bumpy. It's going to take a while, but you should take pictures. This is just a basic thing. You should take pictures of a tree that you really like, or roots, or branches. And because sometimes like roots have these knobs on them like that, like a knob. And then they go down, and nothing is like flat and even. It's all sort of like bumpy. And that's why trees are so good to sculpt, because you can have fun doing this. Now this is gonna, again, the whole thing of putting this clay onto this thing took about 45 minutes. So the texturing is going to take a while, and it's also going to take a while for me to figure these connections, because look at this. This does not look good in relation to this. It just doesn't, and it's going to bother me. So this piece is probably going to come off, and I'm going to make one out of wire. All right, here's another thing I should show you what I do. When you make something out of, and I'm going to get a piece of armature wire. Hold on for a sec. Okay, hold on, guys. Okay, is this a thin one? I've had thinner than this, but this is, I have thinner than this, but I don't know where. Here's armature wire. This was from Dick Blick, which is what I was telling you, 50 feet of aluminum wire. This is 11.5, and that's the thickness of this. Can you pull out the skewer? No. I can't pull this out. Is that what you meant? Trees have details? Okay. It's bothering me because it's too thick. So what I would do, what I'm probably going to do is, and I will show you. Okay. I made it long enough to go in. This is where it's going to go in. Okay. Now, this is aluminum armature wire and it bends really. Your trunks are too long to make skewers work. Yes. Well, this is 16 inches. The total tree from the top point to the bottom is 16 inches. So you can use the skewer as a base, but if you want to have any kind of strength in your branches, you're going to have to do it with armature wire. But this skewer is only about this big because I didn't think, because of course, I didn't think to wrap it, my tin foil, when I was putting the two tin foil pieces here and there around the skewer. So I said, okay, not a problem. I took, what did I take? I took something. That's always helpful. I took hold on, where is my another little favorite tool I have? Did I just smack the thing? I certainly did. I took this and I made a hole in there, and then I just made it bigger, and then I put the pointy end of the skewer and try to get up as far as I could. And then it's only about up to here, but that's enough. Then I took it out, I covered it in glue, cut it, covered it in glue, and took my pliers and pushed it up in there. Okay, so this, like I said, is bothering me. It's just too thick. So this is the part I'm going to be putting into the tree. And if I put another piece of this armature wire on here, again, we're going to get too thick. So I am going to take, I have wire all over the place in various degrees of thickness. Okay, and it doesn't have to be, where is something I could use? Can I use this? All right, you know what? We're just going to use this. Okay, this is just some cloth covered wire, which works very well too. Okay, I'm going to bend it. I'm going to be wasting a lot of it, but I'm going to be bending it, twist it, so that it's thicker. I'm going to put it down here. Okay, going to wrap it around this. Okay. Hold on, I want to wrap it a little bit neater. Okay. Okay. I'm liking it a lot better already. Now, what I'd usually do is I usually would either wrap this in masking tape or put the tacky glue on it, but let's just see without it. No, I'm using the skewer just to make sure it's stabilized when I put it in the diorama. If I was, just as an example, okay, if I was using this to make a jewelry tree, okay, I would take whatever I was using as the base. and I would drill a hole in the base, exactly where I wanted the tree to come out of. And then what I would do is I would take a long screw and I would put it up from the bottom all the way, and I'd have a hole, like if it was tin foil, I'd have a little starter hole. And when I was ready to put this on the base, I wouldn't have the skewer in there. I would put it on the base, glue it so that it stays. And then when it was, I would take the screw, or I would glue and screw at the same time and screw it in from the bottom up into the tray. I would try to use a screw that was about this long to get it up in here. And if you know exactly what you're doing, like if, okay, I don't mean to say it like that. What I meant was, if you know how you want to design it at the beginning, because a lot of times I'll design something, but it will evolve over time. I would put my base, whatever I'm using as my base, on the piece of wood, screw it with the tin foil, and then put the clay on it, because the wood, the screw, and everything else can go in the oven. Oh, the white wire was, I don't have it in white. It's just something that I had hanging around. It's cloth covered wire. I have it in brown also. I could have used the brown, but why? I like the, so this I could use for limbs, you know, little twigs. If I took this, this is cloth covered brown wire. So if I was, I would, okay, trying to get back so I'm making sense. A lot of times when I'm making something, and I couldn't do it with this particular thing, but when I'm making something, I'll make the base first, because you have to make the infrastructure secure. And sometimes that takes longer than everything else, is trying to figure out, because what you're doing is, at least for me, I have the vision of what it looks like at the end. And then I have to figure out how to make it secure so that at the end it wouldn't fall apart. This thing doesn't really have any wires in it except for a little area over here. Basically, it is just tin foil that I crunched together and then put glue over it. This is not supporting anything. This is not going to have anything on it except for maybe a few little branches of leaves, not a lot of leaves. So I don't have to make this super strong. And it's not going, it just needs to, when I bake it and I find that, and this could be something that I've made a mistake and I have to start all over again, because you know that that's not the first time I've done things like this. If it's not going to hold its shape well, or I feel that it's going to break, it shouldn't with the cosplay, then I might have to start from scratch and make it with armature wire and start all over. If that be the case, then that's something that I'll learn to do. I don't think I'm going to need any more structure in this, like any kind of really good wire structure, because it really isn't going to be doing anything but hanging out. But if I intended for this piece to be something where I'm going to be hanging things off of, I definitely would have made the armature started off with the armature wire, then covered it in tin foil, and then put the clay on it, because this is, it's bendable, but it's strong. It's really strong. And once you get it to, and the good thing about it being bendable is that you can shape your tree even with the tin foil on it, any which way you want. And even with the clay on it at this point, I can still bend this, but this doesn't have any wire in it, okay? So depending on what you're going to make a tree for is how you start it off. If it's going to carry weight, then I would suggest making it into the base as strongly as you possibly can. Again, you can bake wood, and you can certainly bake aluminum tin foil, so that's not a problem. And the screw is the screw. So that's, you have to, like, a lot of times I have a problem because I have to think backwards, because this piece that I'm making, which I'll show later, the piece, it's really funny. I have the end. I have the last thing I am going to do on this piece was the first thing I knew how to do. And it was the first thing I tried to do. Then I had to figure out, okay, the last piece, which is going to, make me the happiest by doing, is of course the last thing I'm going to do. So then I had to work backwards to figure out how I was going to do everything else, which is, you know, by the time I get to do the part that I really wanted to do, I'm going to be exhausted from this thing. I'm going to be exhausted from this project and not as enjoy it as much because really seriously, it's the only part of it that I'm looking forward to doing. So um it's that backwards, it's division and then going back. Now this, I think, see, I always have a problem putting polymer clay. Like I really love when I see Asa Clay do this because he always seems to be able to get his stuff to stick to metal rods right on, the first time around. And let's see, clay. I always have the exact opposite. I have the exact opposite happen to me. It always gets airy, it pulls off. But this clay right now that I'm working with is sort of sticky. So that's good in a way. But here's, okay, not too much. And I can make this come out more. I just don't want this to look so thick as that, and it is coming out as thick as that, but I can go thinner with this. Like if you saw that the Gothic Cinderella coach, I had the idea of the coach for a really long time. And just getting the coach done was like, it took a really long time. And then I had to do the mice, which needle sculpting, polymer claying for mice, dressing them, that took another step of time. Then when I had to do those darn lizards, oh my gosh, did I like at that point, just doing the lizards was like not fun at all for me. I didn't like doing them. And then I had to get somehow that I made the saddling to all the lizards or the harnessing for the lizards. And that sat on my desk for a month or two because I just couldn't figure it out. I just could not figure out how. Let's see if we can get this out. All right. Ooh, I must have put it in there real good. Not liking that. See, this is, how the heck did I, okay. Oof. All righty. Now I will put in one that I think I would like better. And there you go. I just fixed it. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to keep it there because that was really quick because it might still be too big. But I like this better than this, simply because I like the way this the way that looked over that. And then you just have to make sure it goes in, give it enough support. And of course, I'm going to be fixing this up more and making sure that the thickest part of this limb is down here and not at the tip. But I think that's, and because it's wire, I can bend it a little, see how it looks bent, because again, trees, hold it in there like that. I don't know. We're gonna play with this limb right now because it's not really pleasing me, even the second one I made. But okay, and you all you lost was a little, what is this? A little piece of tin foil, some glue, and I'm going to take the clay off of it. So if it wasn't baked on, it's still good to use. There is really not that much clay on here. So all right, it's getting time. It's my 2 hour mark. It's almost 1 o'clock. I want to thank all of you for coming in, hanging out with me. Hopefully I will get this done in a couple of weeks so I can at least show the tree. And maybe when I'm finishing the rest of the diorama, or maybe when I'm doing bushes for this part of it, I will show you like different, which is pretty much the same thing of the wires, and it's sort of like making a mini wire tree with just different branches and stuff. So I'll be doing that. And that's about it. Thank you. Thank you, Martha. I will hope I will not be doing lizards again. Oh, I had this metal brush here. This also, you can get some texture. It's really hard to see. I was hoping with the lights that I put over here that you could see. If you just have a straight texture on your tree, if you just want to do a straight texture, can this light help see it? No, this light doesn't help show anything. You can see that this does lines, so you could use these metal brushes. I just wanted to show people different ways that they can texturize their tree. If they just want to do this, like I might just want to do this part closer to where there might not be too much texture, just to give it so that when it's painted, it has grooves in it and places when I'm highlighting or dry brushing that it would catch. So there's all different ways that you can do that. All different ways that you can make texture on your tree. And I just wanted to, again, just show some different ways that you can do it, so you can make, and it's really, it takes time, but it's not hard, you know? So sculpting lizards, they were hard. Making trees is sort of fun. Okay, well, it's 2 hours, 3 minutes shy. I want to thank everybody. Let's see if I can flip this around. Keep forgetting how to do all of this half the time because I don't do this a lot anymore. Does that work? No, that was the camera I am on. Okay. Oops, come on. Okay, so I want to thank everybody, my ladies, for coming in, watching this. Hopefully I've given you some ideas of how you can do things, or, you know, and I've given you some other people's channels and talked about them, so you can go do some research for your own. But we should be able to get this done. I'm probably not going to come back on to show anybody how I finished sculpting this. It'll just be in the diorama. Maybe I'll show, like I said, how I'm doing a little bit of the diorama if I feel confident, because a lot of times, again, this is all sort of an experiment with me. But thank you, ladies, again, and until I see you again, have fun creating beauty. Bye, everybody.